So my guest today is a tech entrepreneur. He has been in business for 22 years. If I'm not mistaken, he's founded 20 businesses. Lots of them have failed. And that's really why I wanted to catch up today with my friend, Alan Knott-Craig. And welcome.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Nice to be on your show.
Even after that intro.
Yeah, that was a great intro. Thanks. I'm not sure I've founded 20 businesses, but I've been involved with at least 20 businesses, and almost everything I've done has failed. So you're probably accurate in that regard.
I was lucky enough to read a sort of early draft of your book, which has just launched. What's the title
Yeah.
of the book?
It's called Lessons Learned: How to Fail and Win. Most of what I did in my life was an epic fail, in fact, and it's quite funny to read about. So that's how it came out.
Well, I mean, I must admit, I enjoyed it immensely, not so much because you failed so much and not so much that I laughed at it, but I think the lessons that came through eternally throughout the book were about, it happens. Find out why it happens, find someone else who's prepared to go ahead and work with you, see the positives in your skills, and get on with the next one. But how did you start out? Did you go to university?
Yeah, I studied in PE. I did accounting, BCom accounting, and I became a chartered accountant. And I thought I'd end up in some kind of bank one day in finance. But after my wife and I returned from like some backpacking to Joburg, I couldn't get a job. RMB actually interviewed me, and to their great credit, they didn't give me a second interview. I mean, I'm not sure I would join a bank that would have me as a member. And because of that, I was left at, not knowing what to do. And I was given an opportunity to start my first business, and I haven't looked back since then.
To what extent was the fact that your dad was your dad? He'd started Vodacom, probably quite well heeled. Was he saying, "Here you are, my boy, take as much money as you need and off you go"?
Yeah, I wish. He was quite a conservative guy, and he was pushing me very much to get a job. I think he'd basically been disappointed with me most of my life. He was quite surprised when I managed to get a chartered accounting. And then he was disappointed again when I couldn't get a real job. So, he actually encouraged me against all the businesses that I started. He was always saying he doesn't think it's a good idea. I should go and work for a company and take the safe route. So, yeah, but that is the path he took, and it worked for him. So it just wasn't the path that was working for me.
And so what happened? What did you do first?
A guy called Gavin Verigis in Joburg kind of gave me a call out of the blue. We had a couple of cups of coffee. He had this business called Cellfind that he was looking for a jockey, someone like me he could give some equity to and run the business. It obviously helped. My old man was like a legend in telecoms, and I was going to be in the same space. And yeah, that was my first little business. And a couple of years in, after almost shutting the doors and everything, we did actually manage to turn a corner, make a bit of money. And from there, I went, I actually made quite a bit of money in my first business. And Gavin was a great partner. I mean, in a way, in many ways, I was spoiled a bit. Cellfind, not many businesses, most entrepreneurs don't have success in their first business. I got a bit lucky. And secondly, it's not always that you have a fantastic partner as your first partner, your first kind of shareholder partner. And no one in the world could have been a better partner than Gavin Verigis. And I just thought that's how it all works. And then subsequently, I discovered that business is a little bit harder than that. And also you can stumble across the wrong partners, and it's not so much fun when you're with the wrong partners. So from there, I've been in iBurst, I did Mixit, I did Project Zizwe, got that off the ground, did HeroTel, and now I'm in a business called FiberTime.
How do you know when it's time to pull the plug? So many people will say, if I just work harder, if I just put more hours in, those justs often aren't a reality check, I suppose.
It's a good question. I mean, I've kind of landed on a rule of thumb of about 2.5 years. And my own experience, including FiberTime, is it takes 2.5 years to turn the corner. So, you can't give up after a year. You can't give up after 2 years. But I think if you do it for 10 years, you might be wasting your time in life. So, I mean, I'm not afraid of quitting. I'm actually, I think it's one of my superpowers. I can quit. But I also know that you don't succeed if you've got to never give up kind of as well. So, I mean, that's the business side. I think around partnerships, that's a bit more tricky. I think when you have shareholders, etc., it's not like it's a choice. I mean, you can't just fire your shareholder. You have to buy them out, or they're with you for life. And I think that can lead to a lot of negativity in your life if you end up with the wrong partners. And in that regard, the test for that is really whether you look forward to speaking to them or seeing them. Sometimes you just feel like your energy is being sucked when you see that number popping up in your phone, or, you have to see them a bit later. That's never a good sign. And unfortunately, I've had the experience where, you have to leave the business rather than, stick it out with people that are not giving you energy,
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What is it? I know you've got strong thoughts about this, and to me, they make a lot of sense. What is it in leadership that makes a good leader? I mean, okay, so you've been in and out of businesses, and many have done well. Of course, you failed, but then I think you're taking great lessons each time. Before we get to the leadership thing, do you ever make the same mistakes again? Do you ever think, hang on, but didn't I do that before?
One of my mentors, a guy called Theo Rutstein, he once told me that you don't want to have too good a memory because you'll stop taking risks. And I think that's true. So sometimes you actually have to make the same mistakes over and over and over. It's not the end of the world. But what I do try to do is pick up on the big mistakes and not try, make them over and over. But the simple thing for me, what I'm looking for when I want to follow someone is just honesty. Just not gobbledygook, not talking in circles, not avoiding the truth. And it's a lot easier said than done being honest and truthful and being candid. But if you get that right, then people kind of see to your soul and they know whether they can trust you. And that's what people want. They want to know that they can trust the person in front of them's got their back.
And I guess that applies then in the case of leadership. I mean, you've had some huge companies, staff numbers behind you, beneath you, alongside you. What do you do that makes somebody want to follow you as a leader? And what do you avoid? And we had a long conversation about this a while back. And just remind me, what's your philosophy on that?
That's a hell of a good question. I'm not even sure what I said to you last time, but I'm just good at selling the dream. I'm not good at selling, but when I believe in something, I can sell. I can sell better than anyone, and people can see that. And I think if you can be totally genuine, legit, and have the ability to win the crowd, with a narrative that's compelling, then people will follow that. It's actually not the hard part. The hard part's actually making sure people don't make rash decisions and jump into the turmoil of my life or my business, etc., without knowing all the risks. And sometimes that's actually on me. When I attract people into our businesses and they're not ready for the business, or the business is not ready for them, it's almost like it's too compelling from our side. So we've got to be a bit careful about that. But from our side, it's not about following people. It's about purpose. And since about 2010, I've had this most wonderful purpose in the world, which is get everybody on the internet. And I'm very few people that I've ever met don't think that's a good idea. And then I explain how we're kind of making our little dent on that challenge, and people are loving part of that. And then the rest is just noise. The rest is, how do you make money? How you hire people, how do you do whatever? That's just admin, but the reason people get out of bed in the morning is because they share the purpose, which is get everyone on the internet.
I think I really do believe that that's something that's deep in your inner being, is getting everyone onto the internet. Was Project Sizwe your first real thrust into that?
No, my first attempt was a company called World of Avatar, which owned Mixit. I'd been to Harvard. I was very lucky. I was invited to go to Harvard in 2010. I met all these people. I had an epiphany, and I realized that I wanted to make money. I don't want to not have money. I don't want to be poor. I want to make money, but I wanted to do it whilst chasing something bigger than just money. And my mission, I kind of had this epiphany that the more information there is in the world, the better the world becomes. Simple as that. It might be wrong, but that was my thing. And the way to do that is get more people access to the internet. So we started a company called World of Avatar, which was kind of, the payoff line was smart apps for dumb phones. So we were trying to kind of dumb down the internet for the feature phones and kind of expensive internet. And we bought Mixit. And then all of that, went a little bit pear-shaped. And then when I kind of got back on my feet, I started a non-profit called Project Sizwe. And Project Sizwe then was going to try help municipalities provide public free Wi-Fi. We did a big project with Tshwane free Wi-Fi in Tshwane, in Pretoria, called Tshwane free Wi-Fi. That was exciting, but also kind of was not really sustainable. Although that project's still going, Project Sizwe isn't doing it anymore, but Tshwane still has a massive public Wi-Fi network. And there's a lady by the name of Shireen Powell who now runs the NGO, and off she goes. And then I did HeroTel. Hero Telecoms is a wireless broadband business, which is now a fiber business all over rural South Africa. And then we sold that about 2.5 years ago. And now I'm doing a company called Fiber Time, which is we're trying to put fiber into every home in every township in the country. So it started in 2010. It's had lots of little iterations. I've had to realize I've gone down some rabbit holes that weren't the right path. You just reverse your way up the rabbit hole and you start again, but just keep the same goal in sight.
I think what we all learn from successful entrepreneurs is that it is very seldom A to Z without any speed bumps. And there's got to be something in. So many people say, I want to be an entrepreneur. Well, it's like, I want to be a billionaire. And don't we all? But you've got to have fun every day. You've got to enjoy, as you say, I still leap out of bed every day. I mean, at my ripe old age, because there's so much to be done. And I think with an entrepreneur, yes, it failed. And yes, you've got to take it on the chin. But there's something that says it was close, or I believe there's something similar or a parallel project. Is that what it is? Do you not get down about the fact that this one failed?
I think there's three things. The first is, I became an entrepreneur because I couldn't get a job. So and I think really smart people, really hardworking people, really eloquent people don't have that problem. They can always get jobs. And I feel sorry for those guys because they're probably much more able to build a business than I am, but they get sucked into the corporate system. Big compensation, very low risk. So, it's a lot easier becoming an entrepreneur if you don't have options. Secondly, of course, once you've kind of tasted life, without applying for leave or having to go to meetings with people you don't want to have meetings with, it's very difficult to go back into the system. So I've become a little bit of damaged goods in that regard. So, both those things don't really give you choices. If you think about it, then you don't have a choice but to be an entrepreneur. And lastly, for me, what I just get out of bed every morning is I just get over every speed bump because I've got a purpose. And it's not just get people on the internet. I've got my kids. I want to give my kids a good education. I want to look after my family. It's just purpose. And you've got to make money to do that. If I want to connect everybody to the internet, I've got to make money. Otherwise, it's not profitable. So, when you've got all of that stuff together, for me, that's how it kind of keeps going. Just the tricky part is when you go through a real dip. And recently I was actually writing a little diary entry to myself about how dire sometimes things can seem. And you think, Jesus, how are we going to get through it? And then take a step back and I think to myself, how will this look in a story a year from now? And funny enough, it's those little trouble spots that you go through that are the highlights of the story down the road. And you are down the road, which means that by definition, you survived the whole thing. So.
And I think also when you look back, we've all maybe my failures haven't been quite as massive as yours. We all have them. And the reality is, we're still here. We still have internet on our desks. We still have, we're still feeding and clothing our family, and we've still got a life. So yes, it's just about finding the way around it. And I think we're privileged in a way because we are people who are entrepreneurs or people running their own businesses. They really are making a difference in a whole bunch of people's lives. It's not just about, the fact that I can go for a cappuccino at 50 Rand. There are so many more benefits to running your own business or running a business which involves others.
No, absolutely. If nothing else, just being able to spend time with my kids, whilst they're young, having that flexibility. I still work a very long week, but I don't have to be in the office from 2 to 4 in the afternoon when they're playing sport or, having a play practice or something. And they're only young ones. So I think that's, I promise you, one of the things I'm so grateful for and I'm proud of myself for having the conscious choice is that I spend a lot of time with my kids whilst they're young. And life is long. I'll be out of school one day and then I've still got 20, 30 years, 40 years. We're all healthy. Medical science has progressed. We're going to live until we're 100. So you need to, be able to keep yourself busy. And you've got a lot of time to keep yourself busy. But your kids are, only young ones.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to reminder of your book, and we'll have a look at the cover here. What would you say, and you haven't prepped for this,
No.
most of the people watching this are not those entrepreneurs. They are the guys who get up and work 8 till 6, 7, and they work very hard and they make businesses work. What would you say to them about what their future holds? Not everybody, I don't believe everybody can go out and start their own business. Lots of people try. What would you say to those guys, though, who are committed to that corporate world? I was in the corporate world, had a great time, I opted to change, and it wasn't always easy. What would you say to those guys?
Look, there's a couple of things to say. The first thing is everyone should be trying to like focus. They should be taking noise out of their life, you know. So whether you're in corporate or you're in your own business, you don't want to have noise, which means don't have affairs. It means don't have a flash life. It means don't live beyond your means. So don't be stressed by debt or you know, expenditure that's more than your earnings. Try to get married young. You know, if you get married to the wrong person, get divorced quickly, marry again. You know, like being married to the wrong person is a lot of noise in your life. That's kind of the first thing. And the second thing is that a lot of our fears, in my opinion, what I've kind of figured out over the years, it's not really the fear of losing money that I'm most afraid of. It's not, you know, being poor is not the thing I'm the most afraid of. What I'm most afraid of is what people think. It's actually what the most, I'm afraid of what my parents will think. I'm afraid of what maybe my children will think one day, you know, my peers, my colleagues, the media, random people like you. So, and, you know, the way to overcome that, I mean, you have to figure out how to overcome that, because that's the thing that holds everyone back, is that attachment to reputation. And my own way of getting through that was I kind of had some epic fails, which were public. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, everyone's watched me do this face plant. It's so terrible. But a great friend of mine once said to me, the people who matter don't care, and the people who care don't matter. And that just saved me through my whole career since then. You know, when you take a face plant, it's honestly the people who don't matter that really care about that. And everybody that matters, in other words, the people that care for you, that love you, that are experienced, that have seen the movie, that know these things happen, they don't even notice. So kind of overcomes that fear of what people think. And then, I mean, if you're sitting in a company and you are just not an entrepreneurial person, and I must say, most people are not, it takes a certain kind of mindset to handle uncertainty and all of that. It's also hell of a risky. I've got a bit of a safety net. I mean, my family, my wife's a CA. You know, I hope my dad will help me one day. At least psychologically, I feel like I've got a safety net. If you don't have that safety net, it's very difficult to take the kind of risk you need to take to be an entrepreneur. And then you need to work for someone. And the only advice I can give for people is just work with people you like. You know, don't spend your whole life working with people you don't like, because that's the path to cancer. That's the path to being miserable and unhappy. You know, not everyone has a choice, but if you have a choice and you can choose kind of roughly where you're going to work, then it's more important who you're working with than what you're doing. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're actually doing. If you're working with nice people, you're going to really enjoy yourself, and you're not going to feel like your life is a waste.
Yeah, you're quite right. You're going to probably spend more time working than you are not working. So make it a lovely, enjoyable, fun journey. I mean, it's okay to laugh at work, isn't it?
It's the most important thing. You know, it's not the path you're walking in life. It's who you're walking the path with that's going to change your life and make it a good life or a bad life. So that's the only thing I can suggest to people. Obviously, I mean, if you can find a company where you can see purpose, and you can work in a company, whether it's a bank or an insurance company or a company like ours, where you can see the path to helping other people around you, which is one of the reasons South Africa is such an incredible country to live in. You can't live in this country and not think to yourself, I don't need to make a difference. And you can also make a difference at the same time, because it's all around us all the time. You know, Capitec's making a huge difference. ShopRite's making a huge difference. Everyone's making a difference in their job. So, you know, just being able to frame that in your head properly, you just know you're not spending your life just chasing bucks or buying new stuff. You're trying to help other people.
Wise words. Wish you well. Hope the book is a great seller. I think there's so much in it, certainly, that I took away from it. And this is the revised version. So look forward to it. And strength to you, and stop failing so much.
My wife totally agrees with you, buddy. I'll try not. Thanks, Stuart.
Cheers. Alan Knott-Craig. Thank you.